Greetings, I guess.
Greetings.
Greetings.
And salutations.
How are you doing, everyone?
Hello. Hola.
Back at it again with the little baby gauges. You shouldn't stretch your ears as much as I do. I mean, I have friends that did, but I don't want to, go 4 sizes in a week. But I think as long as you're not pinching your ear, if you don't have that pinching feeling, you're fine. I don't even know if I'm actually sizing up today, but we're going to try.
Yeah, we'll go for it. Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
And this is why, once I get everything on Spotify and shit, and, everything, this is for that. If you're just listening on Spotify, go listen to YouTube. You get to see me, do random shit to myself. I'm very awkward in this episode for some reason. I'm sorry.
I mean, understandable. I think we've been awkward in every episode. So.
Yeah, it suddenly goes away the longer the episode goes on.
Exactly.
So.
I think most people are used to it by this point in time.
I do too.
The people that still watch and continue to watch. Thank you, actually. If you're still watching at this point, you're fucking beautiful.
Fuck yes.
Thank you so much. Oh my god.
We appreciate everyone. Share it with your friends. Invite them to this wonderful family that you guys are a part of now.
For sure.
For sure.
For sure, guys.
For sure, bud.
Even though we have no real entertainment and we're just sitting here fucking doing this shit.
Yeah.
Partially, at this point, it's still so much for me as much as it is for everybody else. Because I love keeping a journal so I can go back and read my thoughts from when I was fucking 15. Because your mind distorts things. Your memory blends in with other memories and you forget how things actually go. So something like this is nice. It's nice to write, and then being able to see myself talking to myself in the same sense is also really cool. It's just we also have 23 other people listening in at the same time. As of now, anyways. Hopefully that grows still.
I mean, we only have 23 subs so far, but we have so many views on a lot of our videos.
I know. I'm surprised, to be honest.
Hey, what are you doing here if you're not subscribed?
For real. Please subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Please.
Please stay.
I beg you. I'll suck your dick. Or your pussy. I'll suck both. Just being honest.
That's not kid friendly.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah. Good thing our audience is mostly not kids.
Yeah, we haven't had to come into that problem yet. Luckily, we have on our description that we're not for minors, so that should filter them out a little bit.
Exactly. And yeah, if you're not a minor and you're here, I'll suck your asshole. Just subscribe.
Suck your asshole.
Please, please.
I will not. I am formally taken, but
I'm open for anything. I don't give a fuck.
But yeah.
So
we back in here, just bullshitting, talking about random shit. Again, you know us. You know the drill.
Know how it is. We got a decent thing planned out, good little topics and everything, and shout out to 9 episodes. By the time you guys see this, we'll be working on 10. Got a little bit of a surprise for you guys, nothing you're actually going to care about, but it'll be a little change of format for what we've been doing, so that'll be exciting just to see us develop with that.
A wee little change.
Wee little change, but it'll be interesting. It'll just be fun to see how it works.
We're gonna get attacked by the Irish community now.
I mean, that's alright though. I'm partially Irish. I'll drink them fuckers under the table.
Oh yeah, I'd love to see that. See, I think one of the things is I should be coating the actual post with the oil. That way there's no dry spot on the post itself.
That makes sense to me. And for one specific person out there, a robin redbreast in a cage makes the heavens enrage. Just had to put that out there. Nobody's gonna understand that.
I like it. I like it.
It's a William Blake poem from back in the day, and they use it in Red Dragon, which is a great movie.
See, number 8 went in easy too. So, dude, if I was crazy, I would totally go for a size 6 right now. But I'm not gonna rush it.
You are pretty fucking crazy, man.
I'm at least gonna wait a little bit longer. Probably another week, and depending on how much this hurts after I get this all set up and shit.
Yeah, smart. And we're developing an idea that I don't necessarily enjoy. I wouldn't say I enjoy it, but I feel compelled to do it for particular reasons. So that'll be something else that's interesting for you guys. And we'll see when that comes along. I guess we can throw it out there. I may be piercing my ears as well. Might just go for it and try it.
Where are you getting your ears pierced, Vlad?
Wow, I have this professional that I've contacted. I've known him for quite a long time, actually, from high school. His name's Dalton. He's actually the co-host of the podcast that I do. Okay. So he's like...
He seems like a really chill dude.
He seems quite confident in his abilities, so I hope he doesn't pierce through my ear and hit me in the neck or some stupid shit like that.
No.
I trust his level of confidence.
I'm pretty sure I've heard of the same kid. You're just his first patient, so...
Okay.
Nothing to stress about there.
Nothing
to stress
about.
Not
at all. And regardless of who's doing it or what's going on, needles fucking... I wouldn't even say terrify me, because that's such a stupid thing to say. I have a fear of needles. I don't have a fear of a needle if it's sitting there, but I don't want to get fucking poked with it. You know what I mean? So I have a fear of being poked with shit. So it's going to help me overcome that, which I've already overcome in particular times in my life anyways. When I was going to school and I quit my job up there because I couldn't balance school and work, because they were working me 40 hours and then going to school, and I just couldn't do it.
You were also wanting to go there, to work where you were working in our town, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
But they fucking made you a cart pusher.
Exactly, yeah. I had a great job when I was down here, and then when I transferred up there, they made me a cart pusher, literally, while it was fucking raining and snowing on me.
Yeah,
and
this was the fall of the college year?
Yep, the fall up in fucking Marquette, which gets the most snow out of the continental United States, which is everything excluding Alaska.
What about Montana? I'd assume they get a decent amount.
I'm sure they probably get quite a lot also, but it's just the perfect location where it's at on Lake Superior, and how the wind hits it. It's just horrible.
Yeah.
And especially trying to push carts in it. So I was like, fuck this shit, and I quit on them. So I was selling my plasma to BioLife, and that was one of the next things I had to overcome, because I hate needles so much. But as much as I hate needles and I hated the process, I was actually good. My buddy Joe, that I'd mentioned before on the podcast, my sweet mate that annoyed me at first, and I thought, I wasn't going to like, and I ended up being a dear brother.
Yeah.
He went, every time before you go in there, they'll take your blood pressure to make sure you're good, and then they'll fucking they'll poke your finger just to make sure that your blood levels and everything are good. Which actually, I'd failed my blood pressure test a few times because we'd taken dabs beforehand, and the blood pressure was way too high. We'd go in there and we'd fuck ourselves because we'd get stoned too soon before we'd go in. They'd make you sit there for 5 minutes, and if it was still too high, then they'd send you home. But him, though, he was going in. The one other thing that they did is they'd poke your finger. They gotta prick your finger, that way they can draw some blood and test the blood before you go.
Yeah.
And as soon as they pricked his finger, and it literally feels like a rubber band it's not that hard, it just bleeds for a minute and it stops. And I guess as soon as they pricked his finger, he fucking got all woozy and shit and fell off of his chair. So of course they wouldn't let him do it, but I at least didn't pass out during that part, and I never passed out during the actual fucking getting the needle stuck in me and all that bullshit. And then there's this weird thing on the machines at BioLife that there's certain periods, I don't know if it's because you're not squeezing hard enough or what it is, but the tube connected to the needle will start to vibrate, and it vibrates inside of your skin. It's the weirdest fucking feeling ever, and I hated it so much, and just thinking about it grosses me out. But, the positive reinforcement, the positive reward from going in there and facing my fears and then getting paid for it helped me overcome my fear of needles to a degree. But that one stings.
Yeah, that one hurt. And that's the piercing I've had for the longest time. That's weird.
No shit.
I don't know why that is. Maybe it's because I had more time to heal, so it doesn't... This one, after I started it, I just got this one done on my last birthday.
Okay.
So it's still kind of in the we're still kind of healing, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
This one I've had since I was 16.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So it's been set in its ways for the past 5 years, so I'm wondering if that has.
That makes sense. I see what you're saying.
Because it's weird that this one went perfectly.
Yeah.
And no issue with that.
Well, see, because that's the other thing. Even though BioLife and that helped me overcome that, this is a whole other realm.
Oh, yeah. It's not... if you were to start gauging your ears instead of just staying at earrings, it's probably going to suck.
The gauging process doesn't seem that bad. It is the initial creation of the hole which fucks with my head, which is probably absurd and doesn't really make sense, but it's just what it is. What the fuck is up, guys? Holy shit, I feel like I just entered the conversation out of nowhere, even though I've been talking the whole time. hopefully you guys are hanging on with us into this. Let's see, we're probably like 12 minutes in after our fucking 6 months of bullshit.
Okay, I need to redo that one real quick. Fuck.
So everybody who's actually watching our videos, please like comment down below what you would like us to try out, certain things. If there's some specific topics you want us to talk about, just give us some feedback. Give us some constructive criticism.
Yes, please recommend anything that you just want to see from the podcast. Like, we'll do our little bit of weaker research on a subject and give our unneeded 2 cents of the matter. Like we always do.
Yeah, because, I mean, we're at this point, 9 podcasts. We're finally, like, getting into the rhythm. We're not... we're still nervous a little bit, and I still go back and forth on the implications of everything and the unintended consequences and this and that, but it's coming along a lot easier, and it's really just still honing down and specifically getting all the structure, everything behind the camera, all the business aspects of it and all that bullshit out of the way and figuring that out. And thank God I have this man and Alex, because I don't know what the fuck I would do without it, honestly.
Dude, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing ever.
Bro, same, to be honest.
But yeah, we go around too, because for some reason my didn't go all the way through.
Yucky. But yeah, just leave some fucking feedback.
Yeah, let us know what you guys want to hear, because this is kind of like a cooperative thing where, we're here to entertain you guys, but it's hard to entertain you if we just keep talking about the same shit that you don't want to hear about. So.
Exactly, that's a good point also. See, it just still looks so fucking gross to me.
Yeah, for some reason it's not wanting to go through this side of my ear.
Is it just not stretching?
No, it stretched with that post in there.
Huh.
But it's like not following the path. It's so weird. And I don't want to...
Yeah, what the fuck?
It's scaring me because I don't want to keep fucking with my ear and make it worse, you know what I mean?
Oh, rip your fucking lobe open right in my apartment. Oh, that'd probably make me pass out.
Yeah. I guarantee not a lot of people would be too happy with me, but...
Fuck that.
Alright. Let's do this again. This is kind of a pain in the ass. I think I'm going to take my gloves off. Don't do that, but you also shouldn't be doing this at home yourself.
True. Good point.
Probably, so.
Don't do anything that we do, guys. I mean...
Unless you're...
Except think, but we don't do a very good job at that.
Yeah.
And breathe. Breathe.
You need to breathe.
Deeply. Breathe deeply right into your diaphragm. Belch that shit out, guys.
I'm sorry if this is like starting out as a slow episode, guys, but I expected to have this done by now.
That's alright.
Okay, so back in with the post. Goes in. See, like, it comes out like that, but once I start to put the post in, it seems to want to give me some problems. I think...
And like he said, we do have like a topic for today. Actually.
Yeah, we do have a topic.
Bear with us.
Yeah, bear with my stupid ass trying to stretch too early.
We're just bullshitting through this part.
Yeah.
And slightly keeping it entertaining as possible.
Oh, God.
To get into. Are you trying to fit that onto the end of that piece, or is it just pushing it?
It's supposed to follow through the hole. I should probably be talking. I'm sorry. I'm fucking reacting to that. What the fuck?
So yeah, a lot of interesting shit has been happening in this real world, unfortunately. Politically, spiritually, religiously, scientifically. A bunch of crazy shit going on right now.
Yeah, a bunch of crazy shit, but that's how the world works, man. You can't have a regular working world without a bunch of crazy shit.
And for today, we're gonna put that on hold and go back in history for one of our topics and talk about some stuff from the past. We will be entering more into the political, somewhat spiritual, psychedelic realm. No, we will be touching on some psychedelics. So that's somewhat entertaining for everybody, hopefully. Again, I don't know if that's entertaining to you or not. We don't really get much feedback. Please leave us feedback. I would appreciate that greatly.
I'm gonna leave it in for a minute.
Alright, go for it.
But yeah, how was your weekend? Or how was your week, I guess? It's been a week since I've seen you.
Oh, not bad.
Not bad.
To be honest, this week honestly flew by pretty quick. Not necessarily amazing. I fucking hate work, but you know, that's
Same.
the daily and basic shit that everybody goes through.
Yeah.
Today kind of put me down. My buddy, my partner from work, is getting a laser eye surgery. So that was interesting, and I had to be by myself today. So fuck you. You fucking killed me today, man. Yeah. So I had to take a nap before this whole thing went on, and we kind of got a little behind. We're starting a little later than normal, but not really that much later. So that's exciting. But other than that, yeah, my week honestly flew by. I can't even pick out anything that happened this week. I went through the whole week like a fucking autonomous robot. And that's why I hate my job, honestly, doing the same fucking shit every fucking day over and over and over. I literally feel like I'm in, what is that place called?
Purgatory?
Purgatory. Yes. It's unfortunate. Quite tragic. Hopefully you guys can relate. I'm sure most people can. You got it?
Finally.
Look at that.
God, my ear's
Look
gonna be so black and blue tomorrow.
Damn, son.
Guaranteed. I actually might take those home with me.
Fuck.
That way, in case it starts rejecting, I can just switch it out and be good.
That hurt me.
Yeah, this one was a painful one. Okay, so from now on, I'm waiting a month.
Yeah, good idea.
Month between. I ain't fucking with that pain again.
Tired of training yourself. Huh?
Yeah. This is. I'm over it.
I understand.
Watch next week, so I can see it.
Well, I might stretch them again, but yeah. Well, at least we got that good and over with.
I fucking hate getting this rubber piece on.
Oh, just to hold it?
Yeah. Ah, motherfucker. Keep talking.
Yeah, globbity gloop, goddamn motherfuckers. So, yeah. I don't really know what to talk about, honestly. I'm just waiting to get into our topic, to be honest. I'm going to have to master our little side bullshitting a little easier, a little
Oh, man.
Let me see.
Oh, man.
What's a good topic we can run into? So, in the archetypes of the collective unconscious, you see, you have to be able to understand and decipher everything through symbolism. So, if you truly want to be able to understand the messages that you're receiving every time that you go to bed, and your soul lifts out in some astral projection that you forget about before it comes back to your body, if you really want to understand that and be able to pierce through the veil, you have to understand the symbolism. You have to understand the archetypes, everything that attaches beyond the collective unconscious that attaches you and everybody else to each other. So, yeah, get a book. It's called The Great Mother by Eric Newman. Great book. He was a student of Carl Jung, which Carl Jung is the guy that developed the idea of the collective unconscious. So, it's a great leap for you right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My hands are fucking shaking, right? I can feel them.
Damn,
son.
Shit, damn.
Like that one pinched.
Damn.
But I didn't rip anything, so as long as I leave it alone, I need to get another alcohol pad.
Uh-oh.
Like I said, guys, I am so sorry for this start to the podcast. I expected this to be a lot easier. But you just watch me suffer.
We are slightly starting off slowly, but I think it's good. I think it's good to have a little bit of dead space.
Little bit of, not always, but it's starting off nice and chill.
Not always. I think it's good in a sense because we get it out early. Because we're not even to 10 podcasts yet. We're on numero 9, motherfuckers. You can tell I don't speak Spanish naturally. I think about that real quick. I learned something. I learned some new Spanish this week, okay? Es hora de irme a mi casa.
Say it again.
Es hora de irme a mi casa.
I don't know that.
It's like it's time to go home. Or yeah, it's something like it's time to go home. Something with time and going home. It's about time to go home or something like that. I learned that from my friend Cecilia. We should have her come on the podcast and teach us Spanish.
Oh God.
She can't speak very good English though, so it would probably not work out amazingly well. It'd be a short one. Es hora de irme a mi casa.
I mean, just because guests like come for a short time doesn't mean we have to have the podcast there. They could just be like 10-minute guests or something.
True, we could do that. Yeah, because I do want to start putting in some small videos also, doing to our feed and everything.
Hands are fucking shaking.
All right, ready?
I do this like I'm about to pass out, but no.
Yeah,
Just helps calm the nerves a little bit.
That helped calm me down, honestly. What's up, guys?
Alright, guys, so now that we're actually with you.
Yeah, we're present, ready to go.
Be here now.
Be here now. God, I love hearing other people say that. I really do.
I just started rewatching The Midnight Gospel because I'd never finished it, so I'm like 3 episodes in now.
Nice.
I know, so many episodes. 3. I don't binge watch everything like a lot of you people do. Mm-hmm. I do a lot. Mm-hmm. I do binge a lot of shows.
I get it. I have been lately.
Yep, I'm definitely waiting a month between the next size up. That was a little too much on that one.
It'd be smart.
That was kind of stupid, honestly. Mm-hmm. But we're here. We're not going back unless I see Black and Blue tomorrow. So.
Exactly. I do love how you brought up the Midnight Gospel, though. I just have to say, I mean, obviously, we've already said it before. Duncan Trussell is a huge inspiration for our podcast. Obviously, you can tell. Really like him. I would love to have him on sometime. And I love the Midnight Gospel for that aspect of it's literally his podcast with some animation thrown over top. And it's the guy that does the animation for Adventure Time. Which I thought was kind of cool.
You know, I could see that.
Oh, yeah, you can definitely see it in the graphics.
But my favorite part so far was in the first or second episode, where they were like, "Thanks for having me, Duncan." And he's like, "Oh, yeah, wait, Duncan? Who's Duncan?" And he's the voice of the character.
Yeah.
I love that. I love fourth wall breaking. It's one of my favorite things in TV. That's why I love the Joker in Batman. Dark Knight, because he's walking out of the hospital in the nurse's outfit after talking to Two-Face, and he hits his detonator and parts of the hospital start to blow up, but the main bomb doesn't go off, so he stops. A lot of you probably already know the story, but he stops, turns around, is like, what the fuck? Because it was supposed to be a one-time take, like they only had one chance, so he just fucking kept in character, turned around, what the fuck? Hit the button, hit it a few more times, and then it fucking detonated finally, and it adds to the movie when it's like ad-libbed.
It was so golden when I found out about that, and that honestly in itself is one of my favorite Batman movies because I love his Joker.
Me too.
I really do. I mean, I love Joaquin Phoenix's Joker as well. He did a great job.
Yeah, but not for the Batman series, because I think that's supposed to be like his standalone. Like what he's doing.
See, I wondered about that because they still obviously reference fucking the Waynes and everything in there, and I wondered if they were going to continue. Because his
limo was crashed in the alleyway, and I think they even showed part of the thief coming for, or the killer going for the Waynes.
Seems like I do remember that.
Yeah, because in the ending part where he's riding in the back of the police car, you see the Waynes limo outside the movie theater and shit, and it's like parked near an alley. So that was a good reference.
I haven't watched it since it came out, but still.
I need to rewatch it. It's so good.
Just going into weird little tidbits of movies and everything. I was just talking about this the other day, and it still fucking upsets me so much. So, have you watched the movie The Hateful Eight?
Long time ago.
It's got,
that was Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah, Samuel L. Jackson, Kurt Russell, a few other people. I can't think exactly who's in it.
Chris Pratt, right?
Possibly.
I think he was
possibly. In it. It's been a minute since I've seen it too, but I was talking about Martin guitars the other day. Oh, actually, it's weird how you gotta like explain so many different things.
You gotta give a backstory.
Yeah, you gotta give a backstory. So anyways, I was watching the other night this video. It was Nirvana, and they're playing a concert for In Utero. You could tell because they got the statue and everything in the background. And he's getting ready to play Jesus Don't Want Me for a Sunbeam. He's like right in the middle of playing the guitar and everything. And then he stands up, slams his guitar down on the ground, and walks over right in front of the crowd. And you can see him, he fucking grabs this guy, grabs his arm, and he gets on, and then you can hear afterwards he was like trying to feel up this girl, and he fucking like grabbed his arm.
I think I saw that video recently too.
Exactly, and he's like trying to cop a feel, buddy, or something like that.
And then the other band that was there is like, hey, look at him, ha ha.
Exactly, yeah, Chris Novoselic, he's like, look at him, ha ha ha. I love his laugh. It was so
exaggerated. It was so good. It's like, look at him, ha ha. He's trying to cop a feel, ha ha.
Fucking Pat Smear jumps up and starts laughing at him. And so golden. But
what was that other band that was there?
I don't know.
Because it wasn't just Nirvana. It was another band that was like on a different part of the stage, I think is what it was happening.
Are you talking because that guy got up and he had the like red, green, and white guitar?
I think so.
That's Pat Smear who would tour with him. He would play in the background. He wasn't a part because Nirvana's a three-piece. It was Kurt Cobain, Chris Novoselic, and then Dave Grohl who founded Foo Fighters.
Yeah.
But when they would play live like that, they would bring him on there just for like background rhythm guitar and shit like that.
Nice.
Which I thought was cool because I didn't know about him really either until I started watching Unplugged.
So that way Cobain can actually go and just be the lead guitarist. Like, you know, he didn't really need lead guitar while recording because he can record different parts, but he needs it for the show. So that way he has, you know, the rhythm guitarist and he can just be the lead and start busting some shit out.
Exactly. But what brought me into that was I was telling my dad, I'm like, the situation's completely understandable. It's so cool that he did that. You know what I mean? People got to stand up for shit like that because it's fucked up. But I'm just like, I cringe when I watch him just throw that guitar down, even though I would do the same thing in the moment, you know what I mean? But that guitar in itself is such a rare guitar because it's a left-handed electric acoustic Martin. So it was already a rare guitar. Plus on top of the fact that it's Kurt Cobain's guitar from multiple concerts, especially the Unplugged in New York, which was huge for them, still is. And then his daughter gave it or lost it. I think she gave it to her husband and then divorced him, and he kept the guitar, which really fucking pisses me off so much because that guitar belongs in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame or a Martin Museum. You cannot get around it.
Or in the hands of Kurt's daughter.
It's her fault because she gave it away.
It is
stupid as fuck. But
oh boy.
Oh my.
The Cobain family's coming after us now.
Oh, fuck them. I mean, I would like to meet her, actually. She'd be cool. And Courtney Love. But Courtney Love's a stupid cunt, too.
Yeah, she's fucking psychotic.
Let's be honest, she fucking murdered Kurt Cobain.
Yep.
But
Soaked in Bleach, watch it.
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up. Great documentary.
It really is.
It is.
I love the good, well-produced documentaries that have like the dramatization of what happened. It's like watching a movie. You know, I love saying shit that's obvious to other people. It's like watching a movie and then getting like legit history. It's nice because someone took the time instead of filming, you know, random shit like, you know, the street posts and shit going by in documentaries while he's talking in the background. Like, I hate that type of shit.
It's good to see it actually played out, And I have to say, just because you said that, in the dramatization, they make her look way too hot in that movie. She's a nasty crack whore.
She looks like Big Bird.
I can say I do like some Hole songs, though. I give her that. She was a good musician. My mom listens to a little bit of Hole, so I've got a few Hole songs that I do like. But circling back, the reason I bring that up is because, you know, talking about the Martin Museum and everything like that, and then going back into the Hateful Eight, something that happened during the production of that movie, there's that scene where the girl's sitting there plucking on the guitar, she's playing the guitar, you know, and everybody's listening and all this shit, and then Kurt Russell gets up, he takes it, he smashes it against the fucking wooden post, and that guitar that he smashed against the wooden post was actually like a really rare Martin guitar from like 1860 something, that there was only like one or two of these guitars in existence that was on loan from the Martin Museum for that movie set so they could make a replica. She was supposed to play it and then they were going to smash a replica, but he didn't realize that and nobody said cut in time, so he took that guitar and fucking smashed it like so perfectly for the scene. But yeah, could you imagine the guilt that he felt after doing something that stupid? I mean, how is he gonna know?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can't know, but
that should have been something like would have been told to him. You know what I mean? Like, hey, do not smash this fucking guitar.
Exactly.
Like, why was she even playing the real guitar?
I don't know. They wanted it for the scene, I guess, for some reason, but I don't know. They should not have done it like that. They should not have done it like that. They should have
gotten the replica and had her play the fucking replica. It's a movie. Shit's supposed to be fake. I kind of blame the production company for this.
I do too. I completely do.
Or the director, whoever the fuck's in charge of that, the screenwriter, whatever the fuck.
That really makes me sad to hear that because as a fan of guitars, you know, I would consider myself a guitarist, even though I'm not really that good at guitar, but I would consider myself a guitarist, and as a fan of guitars, and a fan of history and a fan of music history and guitar history, it just fucking makes me so sad. That kills me. That kills me. It deteriorates my soul. It really does.
Oh, nice. Our audio apparently froze.
Oh, yummy.
Okay, Alex, cut this part out. I guess we don't have a Spotify episode for this unless I extract the audio from the clip that Alex makes.
Can you do that?
I know of a couple ways. If they're gonna work is still a mystery, but fuck it.
Oh, I got something to talk to you about later too, actually, regarding the podcast. Senior Alex. But we'll get into that later. Where should we go? Should we just track into the main topic then now?
Yeah, so yesterday I watched a movie that you recommended to me. Which, wow, okay, Alex, cut that out. I watched a movie that you recommended to me called The Trial of the Chicago 7. And I know you wanted to talk about that for the past couple weeks, and yesterday I had just enough time to watch it and get informed myself, so yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you brought it up, because I have been wanting to talk about it, because as soon as I seen it, I watched it, I'd say 2-3 weeks ago now, because I was just scrolling through Netflix, and I was like, what was it? It was right after I finished Community.
Okay.
I know I've mentioned it a few times. I love that show so much. I love Dan Harmon. I love his writing. Wonderful show. And then, it hit that instant moment of the void. You know what I mean? After you get out of such a good show and you're like, fuck, what am I? I'm still in that now. But I was just scrolling through Netflix, and one of the first things that popped up was The Trial of the Chicago 7. It's like, oh, nice, because that was something I've been interested in for quite a while, to be honest, and we got a few places we can dive off into from that, but I'll just explain that in itself. So I clicked on that, and it was like 9 o'clock at night, and for me, I need to be asleep at 9 o'clock. Like, I really shouldn't have watched it, but it was like a Thursday, I think. Tomorrow's Friday, so I'm like, fuck it. I'm so interested. And Sacha Baron Cohen was the guy playing Abby Hoffman, so I'm like, fuck yeah, I gotta watch this. Got through it. It was such a good movie, so I had to recommend it to you. And then, I wanted to bring it up, but I also wanted to go back and watch Steal This Movie, which is about Abby Hoffman. It's a whole nother subsection of his story as well, which I'll let you borrow, also really good. But I guess a good place to start would just be talking about the movie and the events that took place.
Well, Hoffman's name recently just came up a lot in the conversation. Let's explain who he is first. And should we explain that first, or the actual trial? I guess we can. I would say
the events. Okay. The events. So essentially, what happened was everything was leading up to the Democratic National Convention, 1968. I'm pretty sure is when it was. 68, yeah. And I'm pretty sure that is the year that Nixon was running, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah, everyone was like, most of the groups were mad. It was the time where the teenagers and like the early 20, mid 30-year-olds were against the war on Vietnam because the draft was basically to them immoral. So, a lot of people, and I didn't know this is how they did the draft. They had like a lottery kind of, and then they say December 22nd, if you're born on that day, get the fuck in here.
Which is horrifying.
Yeah.
Could you imagine that?
Yeah, out of all the days, September 9th or some shit like that, man.
The worst gamble of your life. Yeah.
And we had no choice in it. And in a way, I understand it, but I think in order for me to want to do this, our country needs to get back on track to where it needs to be. Like before, like World War II era. Yeah. And you can argue, we were still dirty in World War II, which of fucking course we were, but it feels like the moral of the country in itself, we were more together at that time. Yeah. And we're just so separated now, it's like, it wouldn't. And don't get me wrong, I respect the people who fought. I don't respect the people that, think they deserve everything because they fought. I hate those people, the entitled shit.
People that are like, well, I'm a veteran, when they were just fucking sweeping the halls.
Shit like that.
There's a few comedians that have bits like that. Yeah.
I think if I wouldn't have too much of a problem with the draft if it was for a country I believed in anymore. You know what I mean? Yeah. And you can say, well, if you don't like this country, get the fuck out. Why would I leave the country I was born in? I would rather see my country get better and prosper in this fucking world than just abandon it. Like, don't get me wrong, I've thought about it, but you know.
And I know where you're
I hope it
coming
gets
from.
better.
Yeah, I get what you're saying because I'm in the same spot also. You know, if there's an actual reason for us to go to war, if they're exterminating 6 million Jews, then yeah, we should probably step in and do something.
Exactly.
And realistically, that's where our country became a world power. That's where we became what America is today. And we've thrown ourselves into other conflicts playing world police, and you can go back and forth and say if we needed to do that and or not. I think sometimes we were justified. I don't think Vietnam was justified.
No, it really wasn't.
But you know, I'm in the same spot as you. If I would have gotten called for the Vietnam War, I probably would have been a fucking draft dodger, to be honest, because I wouldn't have believed in that. And I can understand defending a country if you're actually defending something you believe in, but to go over and
napalm fucking villages with children and that.
Yeah, or take a flamethrower to a fucking hut that you know there's 3 kids inside of.
Yeah,
I can't do that.
And you know,
no.
It's so hard. That was such a, because in a way that was such a fucked up war. Just because, you know, the Viet Cong trained women, they trained, like, you know, kids at the age of 5. You really didn't know who was going to be hostile towards you.
Plus you're in the jungle.
Yeah, you're in the jungle. The trees are speaking Vietnamese, man.
Yeah, exactly.
You have a chance of falling on a punji stick laced with poison. Yeah, and, you know, I know we're getting a little bit off topic. We're going to round back to the
kind of. But it's,
like,
yeah, essential.
They didn't want to kill the soldiers. What I heard was, or what I read on, was that the traps they set were basically to immobilize soldiers. Because their theory was if you kill a soldier, they can just leave that soldier and they can keep going. But you have to rescue the injured soldier. No man left behind. So if he steps on a punji trap, instead of taking one person out and only one person, they had taken 3 out because 2 guys got to fucking carry that guy.
Exactly.
And it was just fucked up.
And then, yeah,
methods
like
of war were fucked up in Vietnam.
Like you said, napalm, and then you start going into the conversation of Agent Orange, and then all of our people getting fucked up from Agent Orange, you know, just so they can fucking defoliage the forest. So
what about when they were testing the fucking atom bomb, or the nuclear bomb before World War II, and they had, you see that video of the people on the ships in the water, and, you know, the ships would be like right here, and that explosion was like over here. Like people were getting radiation poisoning from fucking hell on those boats.
Definitely, and our government's been doing testing on people for years.
Oh fuck!
I have a friend named Larry. That's pretty vague. I worked with him in the last job that I was at, and he was in the military for quite a time, and they were doing military experiments, and they were giving them all pills, and turns out that particular pill didn't do necessarily anything to them, but it would make their kids come out with a predisposition for having seizures. Yeah, so his friends' kids were having seizures. I think he said his kids were having seizures because of this experimental drug they were taking. Fucked up. It's because our government doesn't give a shit, especially if you're in the military. They own you. You are their property.
Yeah, you're the test subject. They can do anything they fucking want to.
Now, circling back, you know, we're just giving a little bit of background for what was going on in the 60s. The 60s were such a tumultuous time. Really, the 60s started in 63 when Kennedy got shot. That was, as Bill Hicks put it, the time when the totalitarian government took over our democracy, is essentially what happened.
I believe it. Because, you know, he was the only president that ever talked about, you know, wanting to take the curtain down over what was happening. And, you know, he just supposedly was the one dude to get assassinated. You know, it seems like whenever a candidate wants to change this country for the better, they have to watch for their fucking life. Lincoln wanting to free the slaves, he got shot by John Wilkes Booth. Maybe.
Maybe.
Not to be a serious conspiracy theorist, but like, you know, that kind of seems likely. The government's like, you just kind of fucked up our entire trade deal here.
Exactly.
So,
and then on top of that, you've got, you know, Lee Harvey Oswald. Was it Jack Ruby that shot Lee Harvey Oswald? Yeah, so then you got Lee Harvey Oswald getting shot by Jack Ruby, and then you've got a few years later, Ted Kennedy, when Ted Kennedy got assassinated, after John F. Kennedy, then you've got Martin Luther King getting assassinated, and you've got all of these events going on. You've got the culmination point, everything that's going on with the civil rights movement. You know, you've got Black Panthers, which also plays into the trial of the Chicago 7 as well, Bobby Seale. So you've got so much going on in the area of war, civil rights, feminist movements, liberation of the mind through psychedelics and different drugs and things like that. You've got so many different things happening that there was a literal divide between the I guess the boomers now, or the older generation, and then the younger generation, which they called the counterculture. And there was
the yippies.
Yes, exactly.
The yippies.
There were several different groups. I mean, you had the hippies, you know, and I guess since we're getting into the groups, that aspect of it, that goes even farther back. The counterculture really started, you know, quite a ways back, or at least the influence to that culminating point of the counterculture started really back in like the 20s with Bohemians, you know. You want to talk, well, actually there's Bohemian Grove, which has turned into a site for a lot of conspiracy theories because it was actually founded by Mark Twain, and he was using it as a refuge for artists, and then it eventually turned into this like refuge for high level political, like conservative politicians and stuff like this. And then Alex Jones breaks out there and says that they're doing fucking pagan rituals to this giant owl and shit like that, which I think he actually had video of, so you can't actually disprove that. So it is
you can. There's like, you can spoof videos, but it wouldn't shock me. You know what I mean?
It wouldn't shock me one bit.
So.
But you've got that, and then so the Bohemians. Then you've got what is it, Virginia Woolf, and you know what I'm talking about?
I think so.
Virginia Woolf,
Wasn't
T.S.
she an
Eliot.
author?
Yeah, she was an author.
Yeah.
But they had a group. The Bloomsbury group. The Bloomsbury group was a group of Bohemian artists, mostly poets, but there was also like also artists, like painter artist types and stuff like that. So you've got this all leading up, you know, the Bohemians into the, what else would I say? There was another group, the Beatniks. So that leads up into like the Beatniks. You got the Beatnik poets, or the beat poets, like Allen Ginsberg, who I'd seen in Steal This Movie, the movie about Abby Hoffman. Allen Ginsberg was a big influence for Abby Hoffman as well. Allen Ginsberg was a poet who wrote Howl, a few other poems as well, and he was big into, you know, protesting certain things. Actually, I should have shared a picture to our page, which I didn't, but I should have. I didn't even think about it, of him sitting on a railroad tracks at this like nuclear facility or something. Him and a group of friends were out there meditating so they could block the trains from getting their cargo out. So, you know, these people were like the building blocks for the hippie movement. And Allen Ginsberg was associated with Timothy Leary. He was good friends with Timothy Leary, Richard Alpert, all of them. So he was big into that scene. The rest of the beat poets, like Jack Kerouac, we've talked about on the road, Dharma Bums. You've got, they consider Charles Bukowski to be a beat poet, but he's not. He is, but he's not. Lawrence Ferlinghetti, who actually just passed away like a month or two ago. William S. Burroughs. There was quite a few at this point in time. And then the beats led up into the hippies, and then, you know, you had the hippie movement, which is what everybody seems to know about, but, you know, the information on that's kind of scattered, which reasonably so, because they were in so many different directions, and there were so many different groups of hippies.
One thing I absolutely hated, and I'm sure you're right on board with me, was the high school girls, like when we were in high school. That sounds creepy when I put it like that, the high school girls.
Yeah.
When we were in high school, the girls who wanted to be hippies, so they'd like get the fake flowers, wear tie-dye, and it's like, oh my god, I'm so chill. And it's like,
hey, I'm opposed to too.
Have you thrown a Molotov at a fucking like oil truck? Like, you're not a hippie.
Exactly.
Like,
exactly.
Hippies actually, there were peaceful hippies, the ones that went to Woodstock and shit, but a lot of them, they would have fucking...
Even Woodstock was a political event, though. And that's the thing, you know, the hippies were quite political. I mean, you had, as I said, there's multiple different groups. You've got the self-proclaimed hippies, you've got the yippies, which is what we're leading up into. The yippies were the Youth International Political Party, something, I think something like that, which is founded by Abby Hoffman and then Jerry Rubin, who were two of the participants in the trial of the Chicago 7. You've got like the whole Timothy Leary group of like LSD freak type hippies, that kind of shit, and you got all this shit going on. I believe it was 1967 that they had the Human Be-In, so they would have all these giant Be-In parties where you would just come and drop acid and smoke weed, and everybody would just fucking have all kinds of fun. That's where you see the famous quote and the famous video of Timothy Leary where he gets up and he's wearing the white Indian robes and he's got flowers in his hair, and the most famous quote of his, turn on, tune in, and drop out. That's where he said that, and then they fucking flew over and dropped acid out of an airplane, acid that was made by Owsley Stanley, who is one of the best acid chemists of all time. He was the one that created the sound system for the Grateful Dead and pretty much cooked up all of their acid, and then taught Tim Scully and Nick Sand how to create acid, who also turned out to be two of the largest LSD cooks of all time, who also taught this other guy that also went on to become one of the largest cooks of all time. So there's some interesting history there, and I guess we'll get further, or I'll go into this other part once we get on the line. But anyways, so what we're saying is, there's multiple different groups amidst this broader level of counterculture, and even the Black Panthers you could consider part of the counterculture, even though they were kind of on their own thing as well. Timothy Leary actually was also associates and lived with Eldridge Cleaver, who was one of the founders of the Black Panther movement when he escaped from prison, because Timothy Leary escaped from prison, and then he was like hiding in Argentina or something like that. Yeah, because he was pretty much in prison because of his thoughts. Yeah. He didn't really do anything wrong. He was just a thinker, a free thinker, and he was persecuted for that. So we're just like painting a picture of all of these different groups, and that's good to bring up for the trial of the Chicago 7, because there was like 4 or 5 different groups that came together and made this whole thing happen.
I think 5 is if you include the Black Panthers, but the Black Panthers weren't technically involved in it. So, because, Seal, what's his name?
Bobby Seale.
Bobby Seale.
Which not the same Bobby Seale that was running guns and drugs for the CIA. That was in the 80s.
Oh,
different Bobby Seale.
Okay. So Bobby Seale, for the Black Panthers, he was the leader, right?
I believe he was one of the leaders.
One of the leaders of the Black Panthers. Hippie. I wonder if he's still alive.
I don't know. We'd have to look that up.
Yeah. But Bobby Seale was in the Black Panther Party, and he was going to Chicago to deliver his speech for the Black Panthers. An counter-establishment type protest speech. I'm so good with words.
Me too.
I English well.
You said well and not good.
I say English goodly.
Goodly.
But no, it wasn't. He wasn't in the riots that started. But since he was there and he was a Black Panther, they put him in the trial with the rioters.
So they could have a black man on trial to show, oh, look at this, they have a black man, because at that time, we're talking the civil rights movement, and there's so much animosity with Jim Crow and all this shit. So that's essentially, they just used him as a, I'm sure there's a term for it, but I can't think of what it would be, a fear tactic at that point in time.
Yeah, because like you said, like I said, he wasn't even in the riots. He went there for 4 hours, came back to wherever he was living. I can't remember where he was living.
I don't remember.
Probably like D.C. or New York, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, flew out to Chicago for it. I'm just repeating a lot of shit right now.
Yeah, fuck it.
Yeah. But yeah, so he wasn't even a part of the riots for the 5th time, and they put him on trial so they could show the jury and the public that there's a black man in here, so he must be one of the rioters. It's so obvious that someone of the Black Panthers came to Chicago and then riots started. Got to blame them too.
Yeah,
but
of course.
Just because he wasn't in it, we'll get that part out of the way first. He didn't have his lawyer present because he was in the hospital, and they put him on trial without his lawyer, so he kept interrupting the trial, rightfully, I think.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because he was being tried in something that he wasn't even a part of without his legal representation here.
And then every time he would bring up the fact that his lawyer wasn't present, the judge would always ask him, well, where is your lawyer? Why is your lawyer not speaking? And they would all constantly cycle back and tell him, his lawyer's not here. His lawyer's in the hospital.
Everyone of the rioters and their lawyers were all like, what the fuck? Why is he here? Because, they repeated to him multiple times. And if you watch the movie, The Trial of the Chicago 7, it's true. They repeated multiple times in multiple scenes that his lawyer was in the hospital and that he shouldn't be on this trial. The judge would be like, sit down, boy, and shit like that.
Yeah.
And then it got to the point where he...
I just want to point out right before you get into that even though the lawyer on trial wasn't his lawyer, and he couldn't necessarily stand up for him, he still stood up for him a lot, as much as he could. He would point out the flaws in what the fucking judge was doing.
Exactly. He was
trying
a great
to help.
lawyer.
Yeah,
great lawyer.
Exactly.
Can't remember his name.
I don't know.
Kushner?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, possibly.
Yeah, I think it was Kushner. Don't know which one, but so we get into the fact that Seal, Mr. Seal, was standing up, and he stood up. This is like halfway through the movie. He stood up in court and he's like, I was in Chicago for 4 hours. I don't have a lawyer. This is not my trial. So the judge told him to sit down. Well, told the bailiffs or the security in the courtroom.
Bailiffs,
yeah, they pretty much put him down in his chair, or carried him out into a back room, beat the shit out of him.
He said silence him or some shit like that.
Silence him, or you know what to do.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, you know what to do. Yeah.
So they strapped him to a chair, and then they stuffed just
like a gag.
Yeah, like a gag in his mouth. Fucking tied it. Brought him out in front of the entire jury, strapped to a chair with a gag in his mouth, and was like, now, if you promise not to be disruptive during the rest of the trial, we'll take the gag off. You can nod up and down if you agree, and side to side if you don't. And he just looked at him, shook his fucking head like, get fucked.
Yep, exactly. And on top of that, the only person he was getting any level of legal advice to be able to represent himself, since his lawyer wasn't there, was another member, I believe a higher member of the Black Panther group.
So too.
That I don't remember if it was before he was ball and gagged, or before he was gagged, or afterwards. But they had actually sent somebody to what's the word I'm looking for when they fucking break into your house. Either way, they went to find him in his house.
Oh, raid.
Yeah, they went to raid this guy's house, and they shot him in the middle of the raid, so he could no longer get any legal advice from this guy.
Yeah, and the fucked up thing is what they pointed out, what Bobby Seale brought up. Bobby? Am I right? Okay. Bobby Seale brought up to the lawyer that was standing up for him, not his lawyer. He was bringing up to him, I heard about this. They shot him in the shoulder first. And then they put a second shot in his head. And it's like, how the fuck can you fire a gun if you get shot in the shoulder? You can't. You're fucking... I say this like I've been shot in the shoulder, but, you can find reports of people who have, and, they cannot move any part of their arm for obvious fucking reasons.
Yeah.
So they shot him first in the shoulder, and, he can't fire a weapon anymore, and then boom, point blank to the fucking head.
Exactly.
So...
And then I don't remember exactly what it was that led up to it. Maybe you'd watched it more recent than I had, but eventually the judge had to come to the conclusion that it wasn't right to have him on that trial, and they tried him separately.
Yep. So what happened was this was in the same scene as when he got gagged. The lawyer for the other 6 then, because he was counted as the 7th, but he wasn't.
I think it was actually he was the 8th, and then they reduced it to the 7th because.
Well, the lawyer for the original group, the ones that were actually there and incited the riots, kind of. If you can watch the movie, you'll know what I'm talking about, or we'll explain that later. But each lawyer, both of them, for each side, and then a couple of the other lawyers that were there went up to the judge and they were like, we don't want him in this trial anymore. Each side was like, he's not, this is bad. And the judge says, and I've been doing this for like 59 years and not one man has ever called me racist towards a black man. And, one of the lawyers says, well, I'll be the first, and then his friend was like, yeah, I'll be the second.
Yep, exactly.
And it's like, good, they got him out, they let him, treat that as a mistrial, and he wasn't getting charged for any of it.
Which he also had another false accusation from another state of being on trial for murdering somebody else.
It was Connecticut
or
Colorado, I can't remember.
Something like that, but that ended up coming that he was also innocent in that case as well.
So how long did he serve in prison? Did you research that at all?
Don't know. Yeah, I probably should have followed it up a little bit, but it was kind of just a whim that we decided to actually do this topic. But now that we have Bobby Seale out of the way, we'll start getting back into these other groups, the one was a college Democratic group. I don't know exactly, Democratic activists at some college or some shit, maybe the University of Chicago or from somewhere.
Yeah, I can't remember which.
I can't remember either. The one's name was Hayden, and then he also had a fellow guy that was the leader of that group as well, doing a lot of research and everything. And that guy was the one that was marking down all the names of the soldiers that died in Vietnam during the time that that trial went on. And so they were a group on their own. Then you had the Yippies, which were led by Albert Hoffman, or not Albert Hoffman, that was a slip up, but we'll get into that later. Yeah. Abby Hoffman, and then Jerry Rubin. And then you had Dave Dellinger.
I think so,
yeah. Dellinger, yeah. And he was like his own thing. He was just independent and protesting the war on his own.
Yeah, you just reminded me of that other scene in the movie where the judge is trying to hear his last name, and he's like, Derringer?
Yeah.
And everyone's like, Dellinger.
Yeah, and he's like, and then Abby Hoffman stands up, he's like, Derringer's a pistol, Dillinger was a criminal, Derringer is his last name, or Dellinger is his last name, or whatever. It was so fucking funny.
Yeah.
And my last name is Hoffman, we're not related, or some shit like that.
Yeah, because the judge's last name was also Hoffman, for context.
Yeah.
We're professionals, people.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, so... as you can tell from just the little commentary that we've gotten, if you watch the movie, Abby Hoffman was a complete smartass, and that's why you should watch that movie, because it gives more context to his life as well. He was a huge political activist, even before that point in time. One of the first things that in the movie, I want to get the book, I don't have the book yet. It was a beautifully titled book, Steal This Book. It obviously did not sell. Nobody wanted to buy that and put it in their store because people were going to steal it. Now, with Amazon, you can make money off of it, but in an actual bookstore, it's not very good. And then he sold the movie rights to make Steal This Movie, and I have the movie. It's really good, but it paints the picture of, like, I believe he started in, like, the 50s. The first thing that he did, he was actually... I don't know exactly how this works, exactly what the story was, but he was driving black men either to another city or something to get them legally registered to vote, and he got pulled over by a cop for taking these men, and the cop like fucking beat him and everything because he was fucking taking these black men who are legal citizens to go and vote for our country, which is absolutely fucked up. So he's literally doing the right thing, and then he went into a protest at the courthouse where you've seen the videos where they're fucking spraying the protesters with fire hoses and everything. They'd spray the black people. That's what their thing was back in the day. And he was involved in that. Also, he was one of the ones getting sprayed. He was, showing his solidarity with the black men. And then it developed further. He started protesting the war in '67, I believe is what it said. And he was still very clean cut at that point, trying to take an approach, like still wearing a suit and tie and all that kind of shit. And then he changed up his game a little bit and started, being a little more comedic and a lot more of a smart ass and getting his point of view through a satirical lens, and using mockery and all these different things. And one of the first big things that he did to gain notoriety is, I should have researched this a little bit more before we came on, but he walked into the stock exchange and he started throwing money, and he literally stopped the Wall Street Stock Exchange for a brief moment in time, because all of these fucking stockbrokers started instantly running over so they could collect up the money. And so he literally showed right there through a comedic lens the amount of greed that takes over in this country. And through throwing them bills down at these greedy motherfuckers, he literally stopped the stock exchange, which is huge. And that was way before everything happened. And another thing, he'd gathered like a huge group of people, hippies and yippies and counterculture people, all to the Pentagon. And one of the things that they were doing, this is one of his biggest stunts, is they were saying they were going to levitate the Pentagon through chanting. So they had a giant-ass group of people that was circled around the Pentagon, and they were like trying to like rush the Pentagon a little bit at the same time, and everybody's standing around chanting and everything, acting like they know they're not gonna levitate the Pentagon, but it's just it's a ploy, which is absolutely hilarious. And then, so he's got all these different things that he was doing, and then he's fucking getting the Yippie Party and all these people there to the Democratic National Convention. So you have their group coming in, this Democratic college group coming in, Dave Dellinger on his own coming in, them other two people who were just there, and just a shit ton of fucking people coming in just to protest this, which is a part of our Constitution to assemble. You have every right to assemble and peacefully protest, and that's exactly what they were doing. And there was this scene. What really ended up kicking off the riot in itself. Well, okay, I guess I should go back a little bit. When they brought the old Attorney General on the trial, he testified that the reason that they didn't prosecute any of the people that were there on the trial in the Chicago 7 is because they came to the conclusion that the riots were started by the Chicago police. So that ended up happening, and what was going on at the time was they had, this assembly that was going on. They were playing music, and then they were sitting there, they were giving speeches and everything like this, and as that Hayden guy, who's the leader of the college Democratic Party, he was up there, and he was speaking, and he's seen this kid climbing this flagpole, and then he's seen these cops grab him and rip him down and smack him on top of the head with a club. So he yelled, what was it, something like, if they're going to shed our blood, then we'll shed it all over the city.
No, this is, what happened was, it wasn't his buddy, the guy. There was a...
Yeah, no, it was a kid.
I think it said like a 13-year-old black kid that was, climbing the flagpole at this rally. And the cops went, they grabbed him down and hit him a couple times. And the friend that was, the one writing names in the book of all the soldiers that died in Vietnam, he was the one that went up there and he was like, what are you doing? And then he did start, he pushed the cop because, the cop was being a dick, but they fucking pushed him back and then smacked him on the back of the head with a fucking nightstick. So his friend was on stage while the speech was being given. And he says, if blood is going to flow, let it flow through the streets of Chicago. He meant to say, if our blood is going to throw, or if our blood is going to flow, let it flow through the streets of Chicago. The way he said it the first time was trying to be used against him in court because he didn't say our blood as in the hippies' blood or the protester blood. He meant if blood is going to flow like, the Chicago police, he was thought to have, incited the riots by saying that.
Yeah, exactly.
If he would have just said our, it would have made more sense and he could have explained that so much better in court. That's what he meant to say, apparently.
Yeah.
But
just a little fucking mess up in language, which happens to everybody.
Imagine if you messed up in language so bad that you incited riots.
No shit, yeah. Hey, I hope we get to that level. Well, actually, I won't say that on camera, but it depends on if it's reasonable or not. If it's something reasonable, I stand behind it, but if it's not, no. But, so that's some interesting shit that we got into. I recommend the movie to anybody. I think it's awesome, honestly. Obviously, they were accused of being guilty by that particular judge, and then they went and appealed it in the Court of Appeals, and everybody came out innocent. And I believe, that judge ended up getting revoked. And,
because he was just so stupid. He was such a dick to anyone. He was only... Actually, no, he was like that to both sides. God, I can't... Gordon Levitt.
Oh, I don't know. Oh, Gordon Levitt Jr.?
Yeah.
Gordon... Yeah, maybe that is something. I know what you're talking about. No, it's Gordon Levitt.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Yeah, what the fuck? Where did that come from?
He played the lawyer for the defense. Yeah. And even while he was trying to talk to the jurors, he kept interrupting him and being a dick for no fucking reason. I mean, of course he was getting paid to probably be a dick. It was either that or he was just mentally fucked up because that was the worst judge I've ever seen.
He's just racist. And just a piece of shit. There was a hatred for the counterculture from the conservative people at that time, which is, like I said, really is one of my favorite time periods in history, and I hope everybody should look it up because, especially the political divide that we have going on right now, so much of the influence and everything for what we have now is influenced from what happened in the 60s, and people don't realize it. There's so much that we can learn from the events of the 60s. And that's realistically why I wanted to bring it up also. And one of the other things I was thinking about is our political sphere now, to think about it, it drives me nuts how far people take the politics these days, like with the extremists and everything, and how everybody gets ideologically possessed and they can't see anything from another side. Everybody's just always at each other's throats.
As, Rogan and a lot of his guests put it, it's a real, God, I can't, cultural mentality. It's not cultural, it's kind of like gang mentality. Everyone is.
It's tribal, yeah.
Tribal mentality.
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone, gets in their little fucking tribe, and anything any other fucking tribe does is wrong, and, we have to go to war with that side.
Exactly.
And, it's sad, because no one can have a conversation that actually matters anymore.
And that's what happens. Oh, my bad. That's what happens with ideological possession, is that you take these views, whether it be political or religious, and then you incorporate that and you see it as a part of yourself. So anytime somebody tries to point out the flaw in your beliefs, then you feel personally attacked, even though they're pointing out the flaw in your beliefs, not in you. But you have that mixed up as being you, so you get mad, and that's when people revert to the level of insults and mockery, and that's when everybody just starts getting out of hand and nothing gets accomplished. No good argument actually comes out of it. And that's where it's sad. But in the sense of where I had the realization when I was thinking about it the other day, is that it is good. It is good. It's not, and it is. It's not because of the fact that you don't have any good dialogue and rhetoric being produced, because everybody's locked inside their own tribe and they're not trying to get out and actually press their boundaries of knowledge.
Basically, you're just wanting to go to war with anyone anymore. No one's trying to be calm. Everyone's just trying to find a reason to hate the other side and attack the other side, just because, they can post that they did it on Twitter. And, look what I did. Fucking, God, I can't remember what that's called, where you're kind of putting yourself, like, you're putting yourself on the internet, making yourself seem like you're a good person by what you do. And
like virtue signaling?
Yes, virtue signaling.
Okay.
And, if you watch Rogan's podcast, you'll know I'm, like, stealing that argument from him, but I'll openly say that, I don't care. It is virtue signaling in its own way, because you're posting on Twitter, like, oh, this cop harassed me, even though he was literally just doing his job. I'll say here, not every cop is a bad cop, and that should be obvious, but...
Absolutely,
if a bad cop gets away with it, you don't know who the good cops are. That's why more need to come forward about the bad cops in their sector.
Yeah, we need to identify them.
Yes.
And that's the nice thing about having body cams also. And now the growing awareness of the fact that if you ask a police officer for their badge number, they have to give it to you. Their identification, they have to give it to you. It's good that people are actually starting to educate themselves on their rights.
Know your legal rights, but don't be a dick. Like... Yeah, it sucks getting pulled over by the cops, and I know for, certain people, it's going to be a different experience depending on where you are, what color you are, and it shouldn't be like that, but it's going to be a different experience. You have to be as calm as you can with the cop, and I know sometimes for certain cops and people that doesn't always work. But just try, because it's the only way you can guarantee your safety. You can still ask for the badge number, tell them that you're recording them, but...
And there is a difference between cops and pigs, and that's the thing that people need to learn. There really is. And, you have to think, on majority, yes, I would say on majority, more cops enter the force to actually protect and uphold the public and uphold the public safety, instead of the people that are just in it for control. Obviously, you still have people that just get in it for control, but I do believe personally that more people get into it for the protection aspect of it. It's just now that we have... the media and such easy access to spreading things around to everybody through the internet, you hear more about the bad cops, and everybody has experiences with bad cops. But there is a difference between cops and pigs.
Not everyone has a bad experience.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Yeah. Most people. Most people. But what I'm getting at is, even though I see that aspect of it as being sad, I see the lack of communication and the lack of being able to develop dialogue as being very sad and frustrating to me personally. I still, after I hit the realization from watching that the other day, I'm proud in a sense, because even though these people aren't having dialogue and everybody's at each other's throats the way that they are, it's bad because of that sense, because there is that division. But in a different sense, if you think about it, it's good because that shows how much people still care about this country. Even people that say, this country is shit, this country is blah, 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 blah. People are still taking a side. People are still trying to do what they see is best for this country, even though they don't agree, and there needs to be more consultation, there needs to be more compromise from both sides. It is still good for me to see that level of awareness, love, and motivation to protect and uphold and continue striving towards something better for our country.
I do get that, but go back to what I was saying earlier, and this doesn't affect the entire like group of people who get really into politics, but a lot of it, like I said earlier, is virtue signaling. A lot of people don't even care about the politics they're fighting for. They're doing it so they can feel better about themselves, or make themselves look good for their Twitter followers or Instagram followers.
And a lot of people do it just to argue and to make it seem like they're smarter than what they are.
Exactly.
But for the people that really do genuinely get into it and see it from some level of trying to uphold our country, then that I truly respect.
I do get that. Like, if you're actually fighting for just rights and you're not, just getting into it because you want to have that clout with your fucking name, being like, oh, I was at the protest with you, and it's like, no one cares, man. I mean, thank you for being there. You probably, but did you actually care about the cause, or did you come to show your face?
Exactly.
Did you come to get on TV, like, do this to the fucking news camera? Like, what are you here for?
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to avoid talking about politics in the first place, because I really don't want my political views to be out there. But I do in the same sense, because I want people to be able to think of it in a genuine way.
Think of it or we think of it.
Yes, and not in the way of I'm trying to brainwash you to think the way that I think, but like being able to see it from both perspectives and understanding that you can come to a compromise between both. You can be a Republican and see something from a Democratic point of view, and you can be a Democrat and think that something Republican makes sense.
It's being a centrist.
Exactly. Not even that, it's just being an open-minded, thinking individual and not being a fucking puppet for your tribe. Exactly. Is what it comes down to.
I don't think anything pisses me off more than that shit. I mean, there's a lot of things that piss me off more than that, but like, fucking pedophilia rings, shit like that. That shit pisses me off a lot more. The story you were telling me earlier in the car about the girl outside your apartment.
Oh, yeah. I don't want to bring it up.
No, we won't.
But yeah, I know that kind of shit fucking, is odd.
Shit pisses me off and it gets me on edge. But, for the sake of this conversation, politics like that really piss me off. Because there's no discourse anymore. Exactly. I mean, you get some people that, they can have good conversations, but a lot of them are just stuck to that path to be with that path because it's what they know, it's what they've learned, it's what they grew up in. If you grew up in like a Republican house, you're probably a Republican, especially if you live in like rural areas and shit like that. If you work in like really laborious jobs, you're probably a Republican, but a lot of people who are in offices are Democrat. Like, little square office space jobs. Yeah. Like, they're prone to be more liberal, I think, because those take place in bigger cities. Like, you're living in town, you're living in the city, you have a lot more gentrification going on. Yeah. So everyone's trying to be PC in the city, but people in the rural areas, no. Exactly. That shit don't fly out there.
Yeah, no, And there's obviously a mix on every part.
Yeah.
But it does bring me back to a quote that I've mentioned on here already before, and it's one of my favorite quotes from Timothy Leary is, think for yourself and question authority. There's so much power in that. There really is. You should never just fucking take everything right offhand. If somebody's, if your boss, or I wouldn't even say that, if your giant corporation is trying to force feed you some bullshit, some political bullshit, or some this or that, or if, your government is trying to tell you that you need to do this is mandated, this and that, question authority. It's not necessarily that you have to fucking riot and rebel against everything. Just question it. You must understand, like, what is the motivation behind this, and think for yourself. Don't just take the force-fed nonsense that everybody's fucking giving you. Don't just take what's put out on TV and completely use that as religious doctrine, whatever you're getting from, whatever section
TV,
of the news
Facebook,
that you watch.
Twitter, don't even, you know, you can find probably some unbiased news, but not on Facebook.
Yeah, and
not on Twitter.
You can find some information, but don't just take everything as literal. You must fucking just think for yourself. And the way that I do it, if it's something political, say you're a Democrat, think the best Democratic fucking people that you can think of, and then also at the same sense, go to the Republican side and see what the actual Republican, the best formulated opinions on that side are. That it's either gonna sway you. If you're afraid of that, stay true to your convictions, and all it's going to do is strengthen your own argument. At least you'll be able to understand at a more fully developed level than somebody that you're going to be talking to what their argument is, even if they don't completely understand it. That's what I love to do.
Yeah.
I love talking to ignorant people on both sides that are trying to feed me their level of fucking whatever that they'd heard from somebody else. And if I already have that idea in my head and I've developed it and I can point out even more specific areas on where their argument would be working better than what they can, you can't touch someone like that.
No.
You know what I mean? You cannot do it. So just think for yourselves, guys. For real.
That's probably one of the biggest things to take away from this podcast in general is to think for yourself, because we're not trying to force feed you ideas. We're not trying to push our beliefs down your throat. You know, same fucking thing, I guess. But, you know, just kind of listen. Take what we say and kind of think about it and put it into your own lives in a way, you know what I mean? Like, we're not perfect. Don't do everything we fucking do.
Yeah.
But, like, the shit we're talking, like, you know, being open to discourse with the opposite political faction. Like, be open to that. Like, I don't know.
But just, you know, revolving back to where we were starting off, definitely I recommend that movie on Netflix, The Trial of Chicago 7, and then steal this movie as well, just to develop down the line a little further. You know, because I don't really know much about the other members, but I know a little bit about, or more, I should say, about Abby Hoffman. And one of the things after that was happening is, you know, he kept running into problems with the law here and there, and then he ended up getting busted for drugs at one point in time, and then they were like using different surveillance programs to try and fucking track him down and shit like this. Like I think it was the CIA was tracking him at one point in time and trying to use like counterintelligence programs and everything to gather data and shit on him. So he went underground for like 6 years. And then he started getting really paranoid because of the fact that he was running from the CIA and all this shit was going on, and they were still searching for him, so he started getting really paranoid. And then during this time, from the agitation of going underground and all this, his bipolarism really developed severely. So he started, or manic depression, whatever you want to call it. So he started getting very severe bipolar attacks, and he started getting very paranoid and just going off at, you know, the drop of a pen. So eventually he ended up coming out into the public. He turned himself in for some kind of plea deal, something like that. He turned himself in so he could come out from being underground, and then he was like going in and doing some other stuff. And I told you he'd like had a discussion with Bernie Sanders actually, which I thought was kind of crazy. He'd gone and done some debates with his old partner, Jerry Rubin, from the trial. They'd gone their own separate ways, and they came together and did some debates and stuff. And then a year or two after all of that happened, I think he was 52 years old, and he overdosed. Ate like 150, I think, phenobarbital or something like that, and drank some vodka with it. And people say they don't know if he actually did kill himself or if he was murdered, but who really knows with something like that. Yeah. Either way, 150 pills, that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. But yeah, so tragic end, but it's interesting. So I recommend both movies, honestly, and the book, even though I haven't read it yet. Read more.
Yeah.
So yeah, read all that shit. I thought that was pretty good. But one of the other reasons that I wanted to bring it up, I need to run more.
I get that. I'm gonna start cardio this week.
Nice. I need to start working out again, but. One of the other reasons I wanted to bring that up is because we can divulge into some other areas just off of this own topic. Where I would originally heard of Abby Hoffman was probably 13 or 14, I think. So as I brought up this book before, my introduction into psychedelics. Well, I can go even further back, actually. So, my life in general has been influenced by psychedelics and, compounds like that more than I'd even realized, from down to the music that I listen to. One of the earliest images that I can even think of is one of the shirts, the Grateful Dead shirts that my mom used to wear. Wow, coincidental, I'm wearing some Grateful Dead. But one of the Grateful Dead shirts that my mom used to wear that she'd actually gotten from my Uncle Raleigh, because my Uncle Raleigh and my Aunt Michelle, they used to go to a bunch of Grateful Dead concerts back in the day. So, I come from a family of Deadheads, and my mom has this shirt. I think I actually took it from her because I wanted to save it.
Hey, a question real quick.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. But I kind of want to cross-fact check here. I don't know if this is true. This is what Gunnar told me, and I don't think he'd lie to me, but I want to see if you also have, the same knowledge. He says, I think it was his grandpa or one of his uncles that was the person to climb the pole at Woodstock, and they were the reason they started oiling the poles and shit like that. I don't, I'd have to do history. I don't know if they have that guy's name on fucking Google or anything, but that's the story I was told. I don't know if it's true. It'd be really fucking cool.
That's cool as fuck. Yeah,
I want to ask Gunnar about it again.
Damn, that's cool. At Woodstock, he said.
Yeah.
Hippie.
I think so.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome, actually. That is funny as fuck.
Yeah,
I'll have to ask my dad.
Ask your dad and I'll ask Gunnar. See if your dad knows.
That's funny as fuck. That'd be cool as hell, actually.
Fuck yeah, it would.
Yeah, that is cool.
But back to what you were talking about.
What was I talking about?
Fuck. Alex got
influences. Okay. Yeah, okay. Don't cut. It wasn't too long. Yeah, so one of the first images that I can even remember is the Grateful Dead, the woman, the skeleton with the flower hair. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, and my mom had a shirt of that, and that's one of the earliest images that I can picture is seeing my mom wearing that shirt, the fucking skeleton woman with it's rose hair, and so, I'd known the Grateful Dead for so long, and I finally got into their music and everything, and the Grateful Dead is known as an acid band. I mean, from back in the day, that's how they started.
Nitrous.
And Nitrous, yeah. Most of the bands from the 60s were all really into acid at that point in time, and that's how the Dead started out, was fucking just going, and when these people were just dropping acid, they would go and just jam out, and they could play whatever the fuck they wanted, and if they wanted to stop because they were too high, they would just stop for a little while, and then they'd go back to the tunes, and, So even that level of influence, unconsciously, subconsciously, before I could even know, was still penetrating my mind. And then, as it further developed, and my interest in music and rock and roll started to develop, I started reading more books on the Grateful Dead and these other bands that I really liked, and started doing more research online. And somewhere down the line, I ran into the name of Tim Scully, which we talked about earlier, who learned how to cook acid from Owsley Stanley. And then I'd seen the name Timothy Leary somewhere online, and then I'd seen that my mom had a book on Timothy Leary, and I was like, oh shit, that's so fucking cool. So then I started reading this book, which took me a while to get through. It's actually a really big book. And so I started dabbling into this time frame, and there were so many different names that I didn't know, and I was starting to get exposed to, like Timothy Leary, Ralph Metzner, Richard Alpert, who was Ram Dass, Allen Ginsberg, all these people we've been talking about. And one of the names that I had to research after I came across it was Albert Hoffman. And Albert Hoffman is the person that synthesized LSD. Actually, last week was Bicycle Day. I believe he synthesized LSD on, I don't know, I think they say April 16th, but I've read other things that said he already had some that had been synthesized, but nobody knew what the effects of it at that time, and he brought it back out to research it. But we're just going to go with what they say. April 16th was the day that he actually synthesized it for the first time.
Want to explain what Bicycle Day is? Why is it called Bicycle Day?
Yeah, so he synthesized it on the 16th, and then on the 19th he was doing certain research with it, and he was researching something like trying to figure out some type of medicine to help with like blood clots in women or something like that during pregnancy or something along those lines. And so he was messing with this chemical called ergot. Ergot is a fungus that grows on rye bread, and they can attribute that to the Salem witch trials and the burning of St. Petersburg and shit like this.
Well, didn't they weren't the townspeople thought to be like high as fuck on rye bread? And then that's why they saw supposed witchcraft happening, because, you know, they were so fucking high on this shit that they were like, oh my god, witches.
Yeah, witches. Supposedly they, I know, yeah. So supposedly they can somehow connect the dots on that. I don't know exactly how true that is or not, but either way, it's an interesting thing to think about. But regardless, LSD is derived from ergot, which is funny because that's another fungus, and many different funguses are what produce these psychedelic effects. But so he was messing with that, and during some type of experimentation that he was doing, he accidentally, supposedly, got some on his finger that allowed him to start feeling the psychoactive effects of LSD. So he was the first person to ever take a trip on LSD, and I believe this was 40 something. I don't know exactly what year it was, but he started getting so fucked up because he probably took a giant dose and didn't realize it, and he started to get so fucked up that he couldn't really contain himself, so he had to have his secretary drive him home on his bicycle just so he could get home. And that's why to this day it's forever known as Bicycle Day, and it's 4/19, the day right before 4/20, which is absolutely insane to me as well.
That is cool.
But in my research of trying to discover who Albert Hofmann was and all this that was going on, and his different research papers and everything that you can find on Arrowwood, everybody look up arrowwood.com. Arrowwood.com has all kinds of information. It's free. Lots of good stuff on there. But searching that up, you know how Google will give you just like related searches or this or that, or were you looking for this, that kind of thing. And one of the things that popped up was Abby Hoffman back in the day. And so I was like, wow, Abby Hoffman, I've never heard of that. I wonder who that's supposed to be. And I started getting the two kind of confused at first until I started to read about who Abby Hoffman was. And that's kind of where I was really exposed to Abby Hoffman and the trial of the Chicago, at the time I thought it was 8, but the Chicago 7, and you know, so I ordered the movie at that point in time. I wanted to get the book, but I don't think I had the money at the time. And then, you know, so I started to expose myself down that realm of knowledge, and then, you know, boom, 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 4 or 5 years later, I see that fucking movie pop up on Netflix. And fuck yeah, that's so cool. But I just had to throw out there, like, you know, one of my early inspirations and getting into the realm of psychedelics. You start seeing all these different names, and then, you know, it points you back to so many periods and points in time and different groups and things that were going on and different things that these people were fighting for, and this guy discovered this and him and him and him, and there's so much research out there to learn about, and it's just fascinating to me personally.
Yeah, it's I would love to start researching it more, like in depth, as to the people who like first started everything with the psychedelic movement and shit like that. But I just haven't gotten into reading a lot. I know, you know, partial information from a lot of what you told me, a little bit of my own research, but not like hours upon hours of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I knew the name Albert Hofmann. That's why, like, when you were talking about it, for some reason I thought it was an acid movie at first.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay.
Like a movie about Albert Hofmann, but I didn't know it was Abby Hoffman that you were talking about. So, yeah, you were explaining that. I'm like, oh, that sounds pretty interesting, a movie about Albert Hoffman. And I go on there, it's about a trial of like the Chicago riots. I'm like, oh, I didn't know he was involved.
Yeah, no shit, yeah, literally, that is funny as fuck. That's awesome.
But yeah, it's a great movie.
It is. I highly recommend it to anybody, and I highly recommend his book, Steal This Book, even though I haven't read it, and Albert Hoffman's books, his works. He wrote quite a few books also, talking about his experiences with LSD. He obviously wrote a lot of research papers as well, because he was a legitimate biochemist. Yeah. But yeah, some interesting little details right there.
All right. Yeah, we're back.
We're back.
So, you know, it's getting about towards the end of the podcast right now. And I just wanted to touch back on a funny little story about when I was in high school. We were talking about good cops and bad cops a while ago. And I think this is a decent example of a pretty good cop. I don't know him, but so I'm in art class. I'm pretty sure I've told you this story before.
Gotta jog my mind.
So I'm in art class, right? This is like first year I started driving. I think it was early senior year or late junior year or something like that. Yeah, I was a late bloomer when it came to driving. I was just so lazy to go to the test and get my license. I was so fucking lazy.
Expensive too.
Yeah. So, you know, I'm in art class in high school, and this is about the time I started smoking cigarettes, you know, smuggling my own illegally. Statute of limitations. Fuck you. Or statutes. I know some people will call me out for saying statute of limitations.
Yeah, fuck it.
Statute of limitations.
Fuck them people, you pedantic sons of bitches.
Oh wait, no. I forgot. I got the license after I turned 18.
Okay.
So I could smoke in my car. I just couldn't bring cigarettes into the school, obviously.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah.
That was one nice thing about college too. They let you smoke in the parking lot. They didn't give a fuck as long as you were in your vehicle. But anyway. So I'm sitting in art class, junior, senior year, can't remember which, I think it was senior, and, you know, it was the first class in the morning. I was like coasting cigarettes all the way from my house to school, finishing it off in the car, not giving a fuck if they saw me because I was 18, what are they going to do?
Yeah.
And, so, you know, this is like, I've been smoking for, I think, a couple years before that, honestly, but... indigestion like a motherfucker.
I get it.
So, you know, I'm in art class, and it's about 5-10 minutes in, and, you know, for some reason they made us do the pledge every morning. Do you remember that?
I don't, to be honest. I do remember doing it to a point, and then I don't remember doing it.
It was really weird. I never stood for it, because fuck the system.
Fuck the system, man.
But, no, so I'm sitting there doing some, you know, bullshit art in the class, and a cop comes into the classroom.
I kind of remember this.
Yeah, it's jogging your memory. So a cop comes into the classroom and he says, "Is anyone in here the owner of the green Ford Taurus, 2005, out in the parking lot?" My fucking heart sank. Stomach dropped. Everything, man. Like, I was like, yeah, that's me.
Damn.
And he was like, "Well, son, I'm sorry to say, but your car caught on fire."
Damn. Yeah, okay.
And we had to, like, you know, call someone to come put it out. And he's like, "Can you come with me?" And I'm like, "Sure, yeah, what the fuck?" I thought I didn't ash a cigarette right. And... you know, I get about halfway to the cop, and he's like, "No, man, I'm just fucking with you. Your headlights are on. We had to come tell you." And I'm like, "Oh, my fucking God.
Damn.
What the hell?"
Damn, yeah, that is funny as
now,
fuck.
the argument for the asshole cop, I think I've told this story when I was, like, on the podcast, I think I told this story. When I was with my sister, right, at McDonald's at, like, 2-3 a.m., and our truck broke down.
I don't know if you did tell us on the podcast.
I can't remember.
I think we were just talking about it.
So this was at the time my sister was married to her ex-husband, who was in the Army. He was overseas, and she'd go siphon McDonald's Wi-Fi to, like, Skype with him and shit like that. So, you know, I went with her. It was like midnight about the time we got there. We didn't leave till like 1:30, 2 in the morning. But when we fucking went to start the truck, she left the key overturned. Yeah. So what had happened was, well, she left the key overturned, and we were like, you know, I went to the McDonald's window, started knocking. Dude, I was like 6 foot when this was going on, and I was like only 13.
Yeah.
So I looked like this fucking little white thug that was walking in streets and shit, trying to hassle this Indian fucking McDonald's worker. And, you know, I'm like, "Hey, our car broke down." But, you know, I get how sketchy that seems now. Like, "Hey, it's the middle of the night. Our car broke down. Can you help us?"
Especially being a worker at McDonald's in that area. Yeah,
and a female worker at the same time.
Exactly. Yeah.
But, you know, she kept doing the gestures because, you know, can't hear through 2 layers of glass because it was the walkway and then the door to the room. And, you know, she kept, you know, doing this fucking shit, leave. And then eventually the cops came. And, you know, they pulled up, and I stupidly, like, hopped out of the truck as they pulled up, and they put their fucking hands on their hips, and I'm like, "Oh, fuck."
You got lucky you didn't get shot. Yeah. Feisty little 13-year-old you, I can see it too, takes a bullet.
Hey man, you already did, you know.
Yeah.
Back in Detroit.
Back in Detroit, my brother Darius, bro.
Darius.
Love, bro. Love. Yeah.
So anyway, I'm not saying these cops were bad. They were just assholes because, we explained to them, our car broke down and we're trying to, get someone's attention to help us. And they were like, oh, we're sorry to hear that. Get in the fucking car and they leave. You would have thought they would have been like, yeah, we have jumper cables. We can help you.
Yeah.
But no, they were just like, yep, good luck, and fucking left us stranded there. So, thanks, Sturgis Police Department.
Yeah, you're great, guys.
Yeah.
Fucking dicks. At least those particular cops.
Yeah.
The rest of them aren't bad, except for the fucking chief of police that was driving drunk and smashed into that car on the side of the road. I don't know if you've seen that or not, but
I can't remember.
That was only like 3 months ago.
What about the district judge who got drunk driving charges, and didn't he get them all dismissed?
McDonough. Yeah. I don't know if they got dismissed or not. I don't know what happened with the trial, but if they did, that's fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he put my dad away a few times.
So we'll look into that for next week's podcast, and we'll tell you guys. We'll update you guys on what the hell happened there.
Yeah.
But I guess another funny police story we can tell. That viral video that's been going around, and it's now like a big thing, and across the nation. Kobe.
Oh yeah, yeah. Should we say we know him by? Yeah, I mean, I guess. Fuck it, because he's already in the public domain.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, we know. We know the kid in the legendary viral court case that was caught at his. What do you even call her, girlfriend?
I don't know. Yeah, whoever the fucking girl he was messing with at the time was.
They supposedly had like a. What do they call those? No seeing.
Like no contact.
Yeah, no contact.
Yeah, there's a word for it though.
Yeah, I can't remember. A restraining order.
Restraining order, yeah.
Type thing.
Yeah,
So, the guy was at his house, or her house, and he wasn't supposed to be because they were doing Zoom court. He wasn't supposed to be near her.
Which is the problem with online Zoom fucking calls when it's an issue like this.
But, yeah, we went... And we're not saying this for clout. We're not proud that we know this kid.
No, God, no.
But,
God, no.
It's just funny. Like that.
Yeah, it's just an odd little tidbit.
Yeah, it's odd knowing someone who is like a national criminal for like 2 weeks because of that.
And has millions of views online because he's a fucking dumbass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, yeah, we've known this kid since high school, and we've heard many other occasions to where he was just a piece of shit.
I can personally say, I'm going to say, if he's watching this, I never had a problem with him. Me and him actually got along really well, but I had always heard some bad stories. And, I don't know exactly everything that's true.
We never talked. We were never, even near the same, friend group or anything. Fucking thankfully.
I had auto tech with him. I wouldn't necessarily call him a friend, but as an acquaintance, I personally never had a problem with him. But... I've heard some bad shit.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever had a personal problem with him anyway. You know what I mean? We're just telling we know him.
Yeah, exactly.
It's weird because I never would have thought we would know someone who got that much clout for a court case like that. You know what I mean? It's just weird. And it's gonna turn into the fucking Tiger King, people are gonna be fangirling over him and shit, sending him love letters to prison.
It will be a case study though.
Yeah.
I mean, because essentially, the part where he was fucking sitting there on the Zoom call and everything, and the judge asked him, he's like, Mr. Harris, what's your address? And then Miss Lindsay, what's your address? Blah, blah, blah. And then Kobe gave him the address, and he's like, go out and video the front of your house, the address and everything. And he's like, oh, why, Your Honor? My phone's on 2%. It's literally hooked up to the charger right now. And then I think the prosecuting attorney, she was like, yeah, I've got police on the way there right now. And you could see his face got all fucking fucking scared as hell. And then, yeah, you can
Next
see.
scene, he's being arrested. He's like, I'm sorry, Judge.
Yeah, he's got a cigarette in the mouth. The judge is like, for one thing, quit speaking, stop speaking right now, and take that cigarette out of your mouth. Yeah, I love that. That was so funny. That was hilarious. My personal story with the cool cop, and Actually, I've got quite a few stories with cool cops, to be honest. Some I'm not going to tell yet because we can get into that later down the line.
Yeah.
I had too many experiences as a kid with fucking police. But one of my personal experiences, aside from like family matters and everything, was one with when I was leaving college. And I think I told you this story also.
Can't remember.
Yeah, I was going to say, I had to jog your mind as well. It was my last day at NMU. And I'd already fucking taken off late. You know, I should have gotten around earlier. I got a lot of my stuff packed up, but I still had more to pack. And then I think, I don't remember if I did go to BioLife or if I fucking took PG or I gave PG a ride or something. Either way, I like got all my shit packed up and finally got my RA to sign off on all my stuff. She was like, okay, this is good, blah, blah, blah. And got my shit packed up. Went and said goodbye to the homies that were left up there at the time, you know, and started heading out. And of course, it's like 3 or 4 o'clock at this point, and I'm talking a 10-hour drive. I mean, I'm literally going to be getting home at like fucking 12, 1, 2 in the morning. Yeah, depending on how much I speed, you know what I mean?
Traffic and shit.
Exactly. So I'm fucking flying out of Marquette, and I got all my shit in the car, and I'm like, all right, fuck it, I'm a decent ways out of town. I'm gonna just spark up a little doobie real quick, and you know, I smoked a little bit of it and put it in the ashtray, rolled the ashtray up and everything. I'm still driving a little too fast, and right as I'm exiting the very outskirts of Marquette, I see this fucking cop right there, and I'm going like 70 and a 55, like 67 and a 55, something like that. And I see his lights flick on, State Boy and everything, and I'm like, no way, you're fucking kidding me, because I'm on probation. Oh, I guess we're past that.
Yeah, is your probation paid off?
Yeah, they're not gonna see it. They're not gonna see it.
Statute of limitations, can't try it twice.
yeah, and I'm on fucking probation, and you know I can't get caught with this shit. I can't go to fucking I can't get caught because that'd be a probation violation, and then I'd probably go to jail. You know, I'm heading home. I got all my shit packed up. They would impound my car. My family doesn't have the money to get that kind of shit out. I wouldn't have had the money. I had to borrow money from my brother to get home. You know, because I'm like running low on funds at this point in time, and that fucking cop pulls me over, and you know I'm like, I know he can smell the weed. I know he can smell it. He walks up, he's like, how you doing today? You know why I pulled you over? I know I'm speeding, man. He's like, all right, where you heading? I'm like, you know where Kalamazoo's at? And he's like, oh yeah. And I'm like, yeah, I got
I'm like,
I got about 45, 50-minute drive away from there south, and I'm like, I know I'm speeding, I'm just trying to get home, I got a long ride ahead of me, you know, and he goes back, runs my papers and everything, and I know he can smell weed, so this whole time I'm like, fuck.
Fucking heart pumping out of your chest like in the cartoons.
Yes, I'm shitting my pants, and he walks back, gets up to me, and he's like, alright son, have a good day. He's like, just make sure you don't speed in my area anymore. So I fucking drove on out of there. I am to this day so thankful to that cop, because I could have gotten in so much more trouble.
He probably knows you're a college kid. He probably knew it was the last day for you and you were going home, and he saw you probably have probation on your record, and he's probably like, I'm not gonna fuck with this kid.
Exactly.
And who knows, maybe like the wind was right. Because I won't say who, but someone I know was driving home with who is their now ex-girlfriend, and you know, they were smoking a joint too, or a one-hitter.
Do I know this person?
Yeah. So I'll tell you after recording. But yep, so you know, they're driving through town and they get pulled over by a cop, and you know, they just got done smoking in the fucking truck and shit. And the wind was just right. Both windows to the truck were open, right? So say this is the driver, this is the passenger. The cop came up to the driver window, of course. It was a single cop, there wasn't a double. And both windows were down. And the wind was blowing from the cop's back. So
damn,
it was pushing the smell of weed through the other side of the fucking window.
Lucky.
Yeah.
Completely lucky.
Yeah. But,
fuck that.
Yeah.
I hate shit like that. Because even
that's so close.
It is too close.
Yeah.
Too close. And that shit fucking scared me so much.
Oh, and one thing I also wanted to say, this is like my little piece of internet advice I've seen, but if a cop asks you why do you know why I pulled you over? You're supposed to say no. Because if you say I was speeding, then they knew you were doing it intentionally.
Oh, I hear you.
So you say, no, officer, why'd you pull me over? And they'll say, oh, well, you were going a bit over the speed limit. You're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So let that be a little bit of a lesson. I don't know how true it is, but, it sounds like it.
I do that 90% of the time, but that one time I felt somewhat justified. And I know that's a bad way of saying it, but I felt like he would understand, considering the fact that I still had a 10-hour drive. I was leaving at 4 o'clock and my car was completely packed. And I think that's part of the reason he didn't want to fucking actually pull me out and search me, is because there was so much shit in there.
Yeah.
Because I'm literally moving everything I've been living with for the past year back home in my one car. That's a lot of shit to pack in. Either way, circumstances happen, and thank God that guy was such a cool cop. You know what I mean? He was really awesome about it. And even, the story that I told about when I got busted with Seth and everything, the one cop was really cool, the other cop was a douchebag. It just shows the duality of, the police force.
Hey, who knows if that cop was actually a douchebag.
I think he was retarded.
I
think he had problems. Even talking to him, he just sounded off. Oh, I probably shouldn't say retarded.
Yeah.
We're going to say it for this episode.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
Special episode.
Yeah, I understand.
No pun intended on that.
I understand that's a bad thing to say.
Oh, God, I'm going to get so much hate for that.
That's alright. That was good.
It's so bad. But, God, what was that we were just talking about?
Good cop, bad cop?
Yeah, so, that might just be, you see it in the TV shows and movies. Some dude's going to play good cop, someone's going to play bad cop because, gets you to act right.
Yeah. That was just so douchey, though.
Yeah,
so
just, standing over you.
I know, I'm like, dude, I want to punch you just for the fact of it, you fucking bitch. You fucking cowardice son of a cock.
So you have a taser, a handgun, and a steel baton, and you're standing over me like this, an unarmed fucking college student,
yeah.
Kid, you didn't, arrest me at a protest, you came into my apartment, searched me. What the fuck are you worried about?
I'm wearing,
I'm
slippers,
I'm a stoner.
Yeah, I got slippers and fucking some jacket or something. I'm cold and shit,
I'm a little chilly.
Bro, fuck you fucking little bitch, I can't do nothing. Damn, fucking piss me out.
I don't blame you.
Yeah, that's some interesting stories.
Oh,
I don't know, you got anything else to go off?
I really don't. I know it was kind of a slow episode this week, but I was in a little bit of pain. Yeah, I might go home and ice my ear a little bit to, counteract some swelling, douse it in peroxide to be sure I didn't rip anything and get an infection. Don't want that. I'm definitely waiting for the next size up, even though I don't want to. I'm still going to do it because it's the responsible, smart thing to do, not to do that shit.
And I apologize for the beginning of the video, too. It's actually more awkward for me to just talk to the camera instead of talking to you.
Oh, I'm fully listening when I'm doing that.
No, I know, but it's just so much, I know you are, but it's so much weirder because you're so focused and trying to talk to you and then trying to occupy the camera. That's honestly, I'm going to have to get better at it.
Usually I'm better at responding, but this one was just fucking with me so bad.
Yeah, exactly.
So that part of that was my fault too.
But yeah, I'd say pretty good. Look forward to next week. We'll have something in stock for you. Robin Redbreast in a cage puts heaven in a rage. So yeah, I got that for my buddy right there.
I like it.
I don't know really where else to go off of that.
I really don't either. Everyone, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you like it. I hope you share it with your friends who may want to see it. Yeah. We're not the best ever at this, obviously, but we're getting better.
We're getting better, guys, and who the fuck cares, honestly? We're at 9 episodes.
Yeah.
I don't see us stopping anytime soon. I actually really enjoy
this is fun.
I don't see making money anytime soon or anything. I mean, we made 10 cents. We made 10 cents, but... Yeah, we're just enjoying it. It's just fun. It's something
we'd have probably $1 by now if I'd edit all the audio, which I need to do, but I just need to find a better app, and that's why I hope I get Wi-Fi soon at my house. I don't have Wi-Fi at my house. That's why we're doing it at his place partly, and that way I can just the space, and that way I can just get on my laptop. It's so much easier to edit on a laptop.
Yeah.
So then your phone, you're trying to get that precise moment in time on that fucker. with your finger, and then you go to hit something and it throws the whole thing off. It's like, motherfucker.
Yeah,
and the Anchor app closes while I'm doing it, so it's like I want to pre-edit it, then upload that audio, and then just upload it from there.
Yeah.
It'd be so much easier. Anchor is for some reason not doing that too well yet. It'll come in a better update, I'm sure, but hopefully it happens soon.
But either way, we're getting everything sorted out, and be expected for a change too, because my lease will be coming up soon. I would prefer to go somewhere else, but if I'm here, then maybe we won't change it really. But it'll be changed, from when we get guests and everything on as well, which we will be having soon, and all that good stuff. So. But thanks for fucking listening. If you made it this far, thanks for joining us for another conscious streaming here. I hate when I'm trying to speak and I can't. I hate that.
I do that all the time. I did that so many times in this episode.
I know, me too. I hate it. I hate it so much. When I'm trying to be like witty and off the dome with something, and I'm like, it's like, fuck, I'm gonna kill myself. Commit seppuku right now.
I feel that. But anyways, guys, don't forget to like, subscribe, the basic shit people tell you to do on YouTube. Don't forget to do it. And have a great day.
Peace out.
Blood. Blood.